You need to stop right now and listen, because what I'm about to show you is news that Trump and JD Vance are desperately trying to bury. The Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, is personally tied to a company called Palantir that just got $30 billion in secret government contracts this year alone. That company is building an AI surveillance web that can watch every dollar, every shipment, every phone call, and every border crossing on Earth. They are turning it on China first, but tomorrow it can be turned on Europe, on Canada, on you. At the exact same time, Europe is running away from the dollar as fast as they can. They are cutting new trade deals with Asia that never touch an American bank. They are getting ready to survive Trump's tariffs by simply never needing America again. Saudi Arabia, India, Brazil, they are all dumping dollars right now while you watch this. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the leaked contracts, the emergency EU meetings, the numbers that prove the dollar is bleeding out, and the terrifying plan to use Palantir's AI to punish any country that tries to leave the dollar behind. Before we get into it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because once you see the documents and the money trails I'm about to put on screen, you will never look at the news the same way again. Let's go. A few years ago, he appeared in a video trashing Silicon Valley, calling them parasites who ignore real innovation and focus instead on spying on ordinary people. Fast forward to November 2025, and the same JD Vance is the Vice President of the United States. The man who wrote a whole book about how the elite are destroying regular Americans now spends his days inside the White House with Peter Thiel's people. Peter Thiel gave Vance his first big venture capital job, put $15 million into his Senate campaign, and co-founded Palantir, the most powerful surveillance company on Earth. You cannot make this up. The anti-establishment hero of 2016 is now the bridge between MAGA and the most secretive data empire ever built. And nobody in the mainstream is screaming about the conflict of interest. Since Trump took office again in January 2025, Palantir has signed contracts worth more than $30 billion with the US government. The latest contract was signed in August, worth $10 billion. This is besides many other contracts signed earlier this year. Besides this recent contract with the US Army, Homeland Security is paying them to hunt immigration wedding fraud. The IRS is paying them to decide who gets audited with artificial intelligence. The State Department is paying them to keep watch over American diplomats abroad. Even the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, the one Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy were running, is already down using Palantir software to decide which federal workers get fired first. Your tax money is pouring into a single private company that can see almost everything the government sees. And the Vice President Vance still refuses to put his Palantir stock into a real blind trust. He says it's all fine. Their Gotham platform takes immigration records, phone records, bank records, license plate scans, facial recognition hits, social media posts, and even your Amazon purchases, and it mashes them together in seconds. Police departments already use it. ICE already uses it. The Army already uses it in war zones. And now the Trump White House has removed almost every remaining privacy rule that used to slow this down. A new executive order from March 2025 says every federal agency must share all data with every other federal agency if an AI says it is relevant to mission. Palantir is the AI they keep choosing. Even some MAGA influencers are starting to panic. Laura Loomer calls Palantir the deep state with better marketing. Steve Bannon says it is worse than the CIA. He admits he does not support what Trump is doing. They are right to be scared, and so should you be, because once this system is fully turned on, there will be no corner of the world it cannot spy on. Palantir's CEO often speaks as though China is a shadow stretching across every American street. Instead of admitting how aggressively the company pushes surveillance deeper into daily life, he points to China as the all-purpose justification. The message is simple. Be grateful we are watching you because Beijing might already be watching too. It is clever and slightly chilling. Fear becomes a marketing strategy. National security becomes the perfect shield. Who questions surveillance when the dragon is always roaring in the distance? Yet every tool built to track threats somehow ends up monitoring ordinary Americans. So Americans are left with no choice because of the fear of China. The CEO insists it is necessary because China uses AI to control its population. The irony? That argument slowly prepares the American public to accept the same thing, just with an American logo. And here lies the twist that no one wants to admit. China becomes the catch-all threat used to fast-track every new contract, every expansion of authority. No debate, no questions, just urgency. It does not matter if the threat is real or inflated. The fear alone is profitable. While all this is happening, look at what America's oldest allies are doing. Last week in Brussels, Christine Lagarde, Mario Draghi, Emmanuel Macron, and Ursula von der Leyen held an emergency summit. And for the first time, they didn't bother hiding their frustration with Washington. The European Central Bank just released a 50-page report showing that if Europe simply trades more with itself and with Asia, Trump's tariffs become irrelevant. The ECB is warning banks to brace for turbulence because US tariffs have made global trade unpredictable. Their solution is brutal and simple. Brussels wants to slash the remaining internal barriers inside the EU by 8 to 10 percentage points. A change that would add more growth than everything America buys from Europe combined. At the same time, they're fast-tracking new payment rails that skip the dollar entirely. The ECB has also issued a direct alert to euro area banks. Those with heavy dollar operations must increase capital and liquidity now because a shock to dollar funding could ripple through Europe with unusual speed. That warning isn't theoretical. It comes alongside a coordinated push to reduce exposure to single currency risk. New EU programs like ResourceEU are designed to rebuild supply chains and create buffers so Europe never needs a dollar-denominated bailout during a crisis again. And the plumbing of that shift is already being installed. ECB research highlights the rise of non-SWIFT payment channels, Hong Kong's new Asian settlement hub, and surging activity on China's CPS network. These are not headlines. They are the pipes, wires, and clearing routes that make de-dollarization real. Markets are already moving. Confidential reserve manager surveys show a slow but consistent tilt away from pure dollar holdings toward a blend of euros, yuan, and gold. The dollar is still dominant, but diversification is no longer a theory. It's insurance. Meanwhile, Asia is sprinting ahead. China's CIPS system keeps adding banks and transaction volume, giving European companies a practical way to settle trade without touching the dollar at all. So European firms now face a simple choice: keep using dollar intermediaries and live under US policy risk, or switch to the new system and free themselves. Here are the numbers that should terrify every American who still thinks the dollar is untouchable. Right now, about 58% of world reserves are held in dollars. That is already down from almost 70% 20 years ago, but the drop is speeding up. Saudi Arabia just agreed to sell oil to China in yuan for the first time. Brazil and Argentina are trading in their own currencies. India has paid for Russian oil in rupees and Emirati dirhams. Even Japan, America's closest ally in Asia, has quietly started buying more European government bonds denominated in euros. Christine Lagarde said publicly on November 21st that Europe has 6.5 trillion euros of private savings that are still parked in American stocks and bonds. Her plan is to bring a big part of that money home and use it to build European companies that can replace American suppliers. If even half of that money moves, the dollar loses its biggest safety net overnight. And who is accelerating all of this? Donald Trump and JD Vance with their endless tariffs and threats. They are pushing the world to dump the dollar faster than any enemy ever could. And Trump's next move takes the chaos even further. While Trump claims he wants better trade relations with China, he is simultaneously threatening any country that trades with China, especially when it comes to the Russia-China oil flow. On November 25, 2025, Donald Trump brags that gas is crashing through the floor, lowest in history. The only problem? Every single part of that sentence is provably false, and the markets know it before he even finishes speaking. And the world is listening. Saudi Arabia immediately cuts an extra 500,000 barrels per day to help President Trump, which is code for trying to buy an exemption from the coming shakedown. European refiners start panic buying diesel on the spot market. Shipping insurance for anything headed to a US port surges 40% in 48 hours. All of this drives energy costs higher, not lower, which means every American who believed the gas is crashing line is about to get slapped at the pump with the exact opposite. The dollar did pop 1.8% that week, but only because traders are pricing in a global trade war, not American strength. When the world's biggest consumer threatens to nuke everyone's exports, people run to the last currency that still has a military behind it. That's not victory. That's the financial version of cockroaches scattering when you turn on the kitchen light. What we just watched in Miami was the mask finally coming all the way off. Tariffs are no longer even pretending to be about jobs or fairness. They are a blunt instrument of coercion sold to the base as peace through strength, while quietly making groceries, heating bills, and holiday travel more expensive for the same people cheering in the arena. The viral clip everyone will share isn't Trump looking triumphant. It's the split screen they'll make next week. Trump on stage yelling lowest gas prices ever, cut to the reality that this is not true. That 15-second montage will do more damage than 1,000 think pieces because it lets the contradiction speak for itself. This isn't economic policy. It's performance extortion, live-streamed, with the American consumer handed the bill and told to call it winning. So, here we are. America is handing its most powerful surveillance machine to a company personally tied to the vice president. JD Vance insists there's no conflict, even as Palantir's reach expands into every federal agency. So here's the real question. Will the White House keep doubling down on surveillance and coercion? Or will American leaders realize the world is already moving on without them? Share your thoughts in the comments. And for more updates on global economic shift, make sure to subscribe. See you in the next one.